Here's what else you need to know today. The latest from podnews.net with Supporting Cast, where you own the listener relationship. The New York Times has launched a subscriber-only audio app called NYT Audio. It includes an exclusive show called The Headlines, new episodes of This American Life a day early, a daily playlist of news and ideas each weekday morning, and a range of narrated articles from the New York Times and other publishers. It's available for iOS only. Chris Peterson has co-founded a new podcast venture, Download Media. The company will invest in podcast producers, networks with highly engaged and growing audiences, and companies that will, quote, define the future of podcasting. Peterson was former EVP of podcasting at iHeartMedia, and the company is already in active discussions with companies in the US and abroad. Audacy, which owns Cadence 13, Pineapple Street Studios, Podcorn and Moonbeam, is to be delisted from the stock market for having what is described as an abnormally low share price. The company plans to appeal. $200 invested in Audacy this time last year would be worth just over $10 today. Good Tape, a new printed magazine, is on the way for audio professionals, creators and their fans. It's hosted by Dane Cardiel, who says there's a real need for dedicated culture writing that intelligently covers our industry, especially one that understands the importance of design and centers our behind-the-mic creative community. If you use the code PODNEWS, you'll get a discount. The BBC is carrying 10 episodes of The Diary of a CEO on the BBC iPlayer, the corporation's TV platform. Host Stephen Bartlett claims he's the first independent podcast on the iPlayer, adding, "We've tried to innovate on distribution in order to reach completely new audiences." He's also a dragon on the BBC television show Dragon's Den, a format known as Shark Tank in many countries. Buzzsprout has enlarged its podcast advertising tool to allow ads from products and businesses. In France, Audion has launched Audion 360, a tool which claims it's the first to merge a podcast CMS, a text-to-speech solution for print publishers, and an integrated proprietary advertising platform. It's already signed a number of French podcast publishers, including Slate and Angle. Athos has expanded its AI-powered audio ad product by adding video edit capabilities. The service lets you produce localized versions of ads, including translation or local addresses. Making their first big move into the Middle East and North African market, Acast has partnered with two major Arabic language networks, Saut and Kerning Cultures Network. Meanwhile, the Dubai Press Club is to work with podcast platform Podio and In5 to offer workshops to content creators and run a talent competition. We're quite looking forward to the podcast show in London, which is next week. You can use the code PODNEWS for discount tickets at thepodcastshowlondon.com. A couple of things for you to go and see. Firstly, me, please. 9 a.m. on May the 24th. That's the first thing on the first day in the Amplify Theatre. Please be early. I'll be looking back at the last 12 months and to the industry of the future. And I've got 400 seats to fill, and it would be really helpful if I filled them. Later, on May the 25th at 2:30, Saut CEO and founder Ramzi Tessadel will be speaking about the Middle East and North African market with Adam Utman from Acast's Creator Network at the Gallery stage. And the Pod News Weekly Review will be live on stage at the end of the event. Come and join Sam Sethi and I and guests for the last word in podcasting news back in the Amplify Theatre on Thursday at 4:15. And in podcast news, the Adam Carolla Show and other shows in the Carolla Digital Network are now using video tools from Blackmagic Design. The podcast shoots around 15 hours of video each week. Celebrating its 100th edition recently, Access to Inspiration has announced a partnership with the Royal Scottish Geographical Society to record a series focused on climate solutions and encouraging people to be more actively climate conscious. The star of West Wing and Scandal, Joshua Malina, is to join the Jewish podcast Unorthodox. It was announced his first show is on May the 25th. The show itself has been airing weekly since 2015. Having just posted episode 10,209, the host of Omega Man, Shannon Ray Davis, wonders whether this is a world record for most podcast episodes. We don't know, so we thought we'd ask here. Is it? Have you done more than 2.1 episodes a day for the last 13 years? Let us know. Updates at podnews.net. Molly Wood has a new podcast, Everybody in the Pool, which launched yesterday. The podcast features interviews with the founders of climate tech startups, businesses and everyday people who are solving the climate crisis. And the fourth season of Other Men Need Help launches today. That's What I Look Like looks in the mirror and in photographs telling the story of an image, from the cover of a romance novel to a concert photo that reveals a surprise bald spot. 6 men, 6 episodes, 6 photos. This podcast is sponsored by Supporting Cast. Don't sell a Patreon, sell your own subscription. Supporting Cast is completely white labelled, so your brand is always front and centre. With Supporting Cast, you own the listener relationship. You can learn more at supportingcast.fm. And that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories and subscribe, we're at podnews.net.